Found flirty, regret-filled texts between my long-term boyfriend, 39 male, and his ex about having kids together. He says it's just a joke and midlife crisis regret, but now I'm wondering if I'm second choice and whether I can ever truly trust him again. 28 female. I'm 28 female, and I've been with my boyfriend, 39 male, for 4 years. Up until recently, I would have said our relationship was stable and drama-free, with just the usual bumps in the road. We're comfortable together. We've built a nice home, we have financial stability, and while our personalities are pretty different in some ways, we've always made it work. Lately though, I've been picking up on something, a change in him. It's not something I can point to in one big moment, more like a series of little things that, when put together, feel off. He's more distracted than usual. I'll catch him zoning out mid-conversation, eyes unfocused, like his mind is somewhere else. His smile doesn't always reach his eyes anymore. He's not a man who wears his emotions on his sleeve, so I've been trying to gently check in without pushing too hard. Whenever I ask if something's wrong, I usually get a dismissive, "Nah, just tired." He's never been a big talker, but a couple of drinks will usually loosen him up enough to share more of what's on his mind. About a month ago, we were celebrating his birthday. Nothing huge, dinner, drinks, and just some quality time together. That's when it happened. We were sitting on the couch, the night winding down, when he got quiet. Then, almost out of nowhere, he sighed and said, "You know, I could already have a 10-year-old kid by now." It caught me completely off guard. I tried to brush it off at first, telling him there's no point dwelling on the past. I told him we still have plenty of time if he wants to start a family, and that I'm ready whenever he is, no pressure. He gave me this look, part gratitude, part sadness, and didn't say anything else. The whole exchange stuck with me, though. He's never really been vocal about wanting kids before, so it planted a seed of concern in the back of my mind. We're in a good place financially. He earns over 100,000 euros a year in his field, while I work from home as an IT specialist, earning about 11,000 euros. Because I'm at home, I take care of all the domestic stuff, cleaning, cooking, errands, the day-to-day maintenance of our life together. It works for us, and we rarely have serious conflicts except for one thing, his drinking. He goes out for drinks with friends anywhere from 2 to 5 nights a week. He says it's how he unwinds from the stress of work. We've talked about cutting back, and he's made some effort, but it's still there. Fast forward to a couple of weeks ago. He had just wrapped up a big project at work, something he'd been pouring his energy into for months. We opened a bottle of wine to celebrate, laughed, and enjoyed the evening. Later, he decided to head out and meet some friends for drinks. I didn't mind. I figured he deserved to blow off steam. When he came back, he was in that sweet spot of buzzed, relaxed, chatty, and clearly in a good mood. I thought the night was winding down, but after a few minutes, I noticed he slipped out into the garden. I assumed he was just getting some fresh air, but when I glanced out the window, I saw him leaning against the railing, completely absorbed in his phone. His fingers were flying across the screen, his posture oddly tense. My first thought was that he was texting one of his colleagues. He has one in particular he talks to outside of work, quite a bit, and they're close, so I didn't think much of it, at least not in that moment. He came back inside after a while, and we headed to bed. I fell asleep quickly, or thought I did, until I woke up in the middle of the night. I'm a light sleeper, and the faint glow of a phone screen was enough to rouse me. It took me a second to realize it wasn't my phone but his. I didn't move that night, I froze, like my brain short-circuited. The phone screen was glowing right in front of me, and I could see the words clear as day. I hadn't intended to snoop. Honestly, if he had been scrolling Instagram or watching YouTube, I would have rolled back over and gone to sleep. But what I saw, it was a conversation with some woman. The tone wasn't platonic, not even close. The part one caught started like this. Her, I was thinking about motherhood position. Him, that one is the best. Her, do you have experience with that occupation motherhood? Him, no, but it would be the best with you. Her, are you planning to be a father in the future? Him, I would like that. Her, well, I wish you luck with that. I found out it's better to have children when you're in your 20s. People experience it with more ease. Him, we should have children together, it would be much easier. Her, yeah, but you were unsure back then. My stomach turned over. I felt my face go hot. It was like I was reading a parallel life, one where the man lying next to me wasn't my boyfriend of 4 years, but some other version of him who was openly fantasizing about having children with someone else. I didn't move. I didn't say anything. I just lay there, eyes wide open in the dark, tears welling up until they finally slid down my cheeks. He had no idea I was awake. No idea I was hearing the keystrokes, seeing the words, and feeling the floor drop out from under me in real time. I didn't just cry because of what he wrote, though that hurt like hell. I cried because it connected every little thing I'd been noticing. The strange mood shifts, the birthday comment about already being able to have a 10-year-old, the dodging whenever I try to talk about starting a family. Suddenly, it all clicked. The regrets, the distance, he wasn't just dealing with stress. He was looking backward, to someone else, and to a life he didn't build with me. And it hit me even harder, because it pulled up a memory I've tried to bury for decades. My mom was cheated on by my dad, and I was the one who found out. I was 7 years old, playing a game on his phone, when I stumbled across texts from another woman. I didn't fully understand everything I was reading at that age, but I knew it wasn't okay. I told my mom, and I remember the sound she made, a sound that still makes my chest ache when I think about it. I think that's why I reacted so strongly now. It wasn't just my relationship I was grieving in that moment, it was the ghost of that one, too. I barely slept that night, maybe 2 hours total. I just lay there, my mind spinning, running through possible conversations, possible outcomes, even possible exits. I knew I couldn't just sit on it. This wasn't the kind of thing you ignore until it fades away. It was like a crack in glass. It would only spread. The next day, I waited for him to get home from work. My stomach was in knots all day. I wrote down a list of topics I wanted to bring up because I knew if I just tried to wing it, I might get flustered or let him steer the conversation somewhere shallow. I didn't want to give him room to dodge me like he had before. When he walked in, I told him we needed to talk and gestured toward the couch. He looked a little wary but sat down. I started by telling him I'd noticed changes in his behavior for a while now, that he seemed distant, more stressed, less engaged with me. I reminded him of his birthday, the comment about already being able to have a 10-year-old, and how I had told him I was ready to start trying for kids whenever he was. I told him that when I tried to follow up on that conversation in the weeks afterward, he had brushed me off or changed the subject. Then I told him the truth, that the night before, I had woken up and seen him texting. I didn't lead with accusations. I didn't raise my voice. I just said plainly that I saw a conversation between him and his ex where he expressed regret about not having children with her and that it hurt me deeply. That it felt like a betrayal, even if nothing physical had happened. I told him that it made me feel disrespected, unwanted, and as though I'd been relegated to the role of placeholder in his life, someone to keep him company while he pined for a different timeline with someone else. When I finally confronted him, I expected anything, anger, defensiveness, maybe even a fight. What I didn't expect was for him to laugh. Not in a mean way exactly, but in a way that made me feel small, like I had just completely misunderstood a joke at a party, and now everyone was chuckling at my expense. He assured me it was nothing. Just teasing. Apparently, they had dated 10 years ago, and now she was engaged and pregnant. He said there was no hidden meaning, no secret pining, just a silly conversation with an old friend. He told me I was reading way too much into it. I felt stupid. Genuinely stupid. Like maybe I had blown a casual, harmless exchange into something ugly because my brain was primed to see betrayal from my childhood trauma. I apologized to him for snooping, for overreacting, for even bringing it up. I told myself I should have considered the possibility that it wasn't serious. But even as I apologized, something inside me didn't settle. Because no matter how innocent he framed it, I still didn't feel okay about it. Yes, maybe she's moved on. Maybe she's got her own life. But he was the one saying things that sounded like real regret. Things like we should have children together, and it would be the best with you. That wasn't just a neutral joke to me. That was a statement that hinted at what could have been, and it made me feel like I was standing in the shadow of someone else's what if. So I asked him plainly, if it bothered me, would he stop talking to her? He didn't hesitate, said yes, no problem. They only text happy birthdays or small updates once in a while. He made it sound easy, almost like the whole thing was insignificant to him. Still, the conversation stuck in my mind. One text in particular kept looping in my thoughts, the one where he said experiencing motherhood and fatherhood would be the best for us. I didn't mention it that night because I was still processing everything, but I decided I would reopen the topic. I needed clarity, not just dismissal. Later, I asked myself if I was overreacting. Maybe he was genuinely being playful. Maybe I was the one turning this into a bigger deal than it was. Or maybe he was brushing it off, so I'd stop digging. That uncertainty was the worst part, not knowing which was true. Update. I couldn't let it go, so I brought it up again. This time I asked him directly why he messaged her those specific things. I also asked if he regretted not having a relationship with her, or with any of his other serious exes. His answer came after a pause, and it was more honest than I expected. He said no, he didn't regret staying with her specifically. But he did regret not having children earlier in life, when he was younger, when he felt like he had more energy and time ahead of him. He said lately he's been feeling old, and that's what's been on his mind, not some grand romantic longing for his ex. Then he looked me in the eyes and said he loves me, that if he really had doubts about us, we wouldn't still be together after 4 years. He told me I'd be a great mom, that he appreciates everything I do for him and for our life together. And here's the part that really got me. He reminded me of something I'd almost buried. Back in October 2024, I had an early miscarriage, basically a chemical pregnancy. I had found out completely by accident after taking a random test and then confirming my HCG levels at the lab, where I was working at the time. I told him about it, nervous and unsure how he'd react. His response then? He said that if I had been pregnant, he would have been the happiest man in the world. Remembering that made me pause. Because that reaction was real. There was no ex in the picture, no joking tone, no hidden audience. It was just him, in the moment, expressing joy at the possibility of having a child with me. So maybe his regret really is about timing, not about who he'd have children with. Maybe the conversation I saw was him clumsily mixing nostalgia with this recent midlife crisis feeling. It doesn't erase the fact that it hurt me. It doesn't change the fact that I wish he'd never written those words to her. But it also doesn't necessarily mean he's secretly wishing I was someone else. That's where I'm at now. I've decided I'm going to work on rebuilding my trust. We clearly have communication issues, because I shouldn't have had to piece this all together through guesswork and late-night text reading. If he's feeling this way, about aging, about missed chances, I want him to be able to tell me openly, so I'm not blindsided by scraps of conversation that make me spiral. I'm not pretending this is fixed. It's not. My trust in him has taken a hit, and that will take time to repair. But for now, I'm choosing to believe his explanation. I'm choosing to take him at his word that he loves me, that he wants a future with me, and that if he really wanted to be with someone else, he wouldn't still be here. And maybe, over time, that choice will feel less like a risk and more like a truth I can live with. How do I really know if my boyfriend's explanation is genuine, or if I'm just convincing myself to believe it because I don't want to face a painful truth? Am I overreacting to these messages because of my past trauma with infidelity, or are they an actual red flag that I should take seriously? How do I get past the hurt of him telling his ex that having kids with her would be the best, without constantly feeling like I'm second choice? Can trust truly be rebuilt after something like this? Or will this always linger in the back of my mind no matter what we do? How can I tell if his regret about not having children earlier is really about timing and missed life stages, or if deep down it's about wishing he'd had them with someone else? What practical steps can we take to actually improve our communication so that I'm never blindsided by something like this again? And finally, how do I decide whether this is something I can genuinely move past, or if it will slowly eat away at our relationship over time?